Hello everyone, this is Colin on the ASCA League channel. Here we are back again at Daytona, this time for our last duels of the year. We're here for the Mapei Duels, the big grand duels, 48 Pennzoil Pro Series competitors, all here in South Florida, ready to make their names heard and ready to try to advance into the 42 car field in the Daytona 500. Only 6 cars will go home today, which is a lot less than the coveted Amateur Series had to deal with, but it's a short field size nonetheless. Here's your starting lineup with Webster Zyger taking home the Haas Pole Award. Jay Barker in the National Racing Chevy on his outside. Chevrolet sweeps the front row, but as you look down through the grid, a bunch of drivers making their first career starts in 2018, and a couple drivers even making their first career starts in the Pennzoil Pro Series. Eric Monaco, Alexander Rowe, two of those drivers on that starting grid that are participating in this duel. And they'll have to try to fight their way in. Here is Garrett Senor in the Vincent Motorsports Dodge. He'll be carrying the Miller Lite on board as he shows us the action here today on the roof of the car. And all around him, things will be chaotic. We have seen wrecks happen already. The second duel in the Coveted Amateur Series saw a crash. However, otherwise, Speedweeks have been relatively uneventful. However, it can all change as the pace car dips onto pit road. Green flag's in the air, and the Pennzoil Pro Series drivers will see the green flag. Let's go qualifying for the Daytona 500. The speed gets you every time as Webster Zygaard will take the lead. The inside line will break away as Barker is going to fall back heavily on the outside. Did not get a good jump. And right behind him, two Old Spice Racing teammates, Aaron Lukes and Kyle Collins, duking it out. But coming on the inside, here comes one of the Fords, Cesar Chavez in the 24 car. And he's actually having to fight his way in. Not every one of these drivers is fighting for their lives, as some are in based on provisionals from last year. The top 28 in points from last year do not have to race their way in. Webster Zygaard is one of those included. However, if you were not included in those top 28, you are at risk of being dropped out of the running for the Daytona 500. The bottom 3 entries in this duel will be eliminated, and Cesar Chavez doing all he can to try and not be one of those drivers going home today. But as for Webster Zygaard, pacing the field right now early on, and the P&G colors, they are looking for a championship, and Zygaard would love to get it off on the right foot here in this duel and win the first duel of the season. Many try to consider this race the first actual race of the season for the Pennzoil Pro Series drivers. Not necessarily points paying, but it leads to a points paying race, and the results of this will determine part of the qualifying order for the Daytona 500. So it has a major effect on where everyone will start. Rick Witt in the Red Viper Racing Dodge is now going to see the front of the field. That's a very familiar car, and he has seen Daytona many times. Not been to victory lane, however. Rick Witt would like to do that here in 2018, and having a good starting spot in the 500 would be helpful for that. Sid Nor will get on the inside, and onto the inside of him, your Season 3 Coveted Amateur Series champion Logan Sanders, back on his second campaign in the Pennzoil Pro Series. Did not live up to the hype last year and is looking to turn it around. However, there's a lot of stability around that team right now, and with what they've shown in practice so far this Speedweeks, they are one of the teams to beat. As you see Ryan Dunn, though, pushing him up the track, and Dunn will now take over the lead. Almost 5 lead changes in just under 2 laps. And Dunn in the Ice Valley Dodge, he kind of seems to switch rides every year. In fact, it's not kind of, it's almost a guarantee, as every single season he's been with a different team. Almost all the time he's changing manufacturers as well. And this will be his first campaign in a Dodge, but just like we've seen in the past, he can pick it up and drive fast with it. And Dunn piloting the field, and he will lead lap number 4. Coming to lap 5, 24 laps in the first duel, just as there will be in the second duel. Just behind a couple drivers that are trying to race their way in, John Gilbert for Push to Pass Motorsports. He's trying to get forward another entry into the 500. This team taking over where Bob Motorsports left off. Brand new ownership, brand new equipment, and they are trying to get off onto the right foot here today. And if they can get in the 500, it'll be a huge boost to their program, and they're trying to get up and running. There's TRN Motorsports right in front of them as well. Haley Wish one of the late confirmations in silly season. TRN Motorsports taking over part of the equipment from Maui Motorsports with renovations to their cars. They switched manufacturers to Toyota barely before the season started, and they are looking very strong, all things considered, running third place. And Double Team Motorsports, some of their equipment went to the TRN campaign as they have made the switch to Chevrolet, really looking for a turnaround season as they really haven't received any support ever since reaching the highs they got in their debut year in Season 2. But looking to turn things around, you see Nathan Lukac in the one right behind Marta Zrischel. They have some talent behind the wheel, they just need to get the finishes. And if they both can qualify for the 500, that'll be a huge boost to their efforts in the 2018 season. Blaine Keys in the 41 down there as well. First time he won't be in Hoffman Motorsports equipment since Season 1. And he's looking to try to get things back on track as you see him moving to the inside and making a move to second. Lukac almost shutting the door on him, but we'll think otherwise. And as we get to the third of the way mark, Ryan Dunn is out front and leading laps right now. That Overdrive Motorsports Dodge is looking fast out front. And you can see he's keeping about a 2-car gap, and that's just because the field behind him is jockeying for position so much, they're not having a chance to get a run at him. You see once again the car is going 3 wide with your Bud Shootout winner Daniel Voiles going to the inside. Nick Purcell's in the Sylvania Toyota. Joined the camp last year for Old Spice Racing and was an instant hit, looking to have even more success this year. Here's one of our rookies for the season, Eric Monaco, making the step up from the Coppin Amateur Series, as a couple other drivers in this field will be as well. Nathan Lukac, we mentioned him before, he is also another rookie. Just as in NASCAR, the rookies are designated by the yellow stripes on the back rear bumper. And the Interstate Batteries Dodge has been piloted by Nikita Rizkov the past few years. However, the breath of fresh air could be what this team needs to get going and become a chase-winning team in the Red Viper Racing stable. And Monaco looking to try to continue to move forward to the front, running that inside line. It is the preferred line at Daytona, just more speed and a shorter radius around the track. And as you see Monaco getting pushed up to the outside, Barker on the outside pole, but we really haven't seen much of him today. Oh, and there's action in the back, and they're spinning out. Cars through the apron, and this is where we saw the accident in the Coveted Amateur Series race. Out of the tri-oval, that's where things get squirrely, and a couple cars. John Gilbert, we were just mentioning earlier in the broadcast, he needs to race his way in. Garrett Sonor, I believe, is safe, so he doesn't have to worry, but he was stuck on the apron. John Gilbert, though, a very critical moment here in the 82 car. And the caution flag is out. I think that's Chloe Baker. That's another driver having to race her way in. And Blaine Keys as well has been wound up in it. Blaine Keys going to Smart Motorsports. That team did not have a charter into this race, and were not able to did not have enough owner points from last year. That would be a huge loss if Keys is unable to qualify. You see Gilbert just got up into the wall, unable to keep the car straight. That's almost exactly what we saw last week. As you see cars getting piled in, a few others involved. Definitely probably some fender benders throughout the field. However, the big ones are definitely Gilbert, and I'd say probably Baker. I don't think there's that much damage on the 40 car. Let's ride on board and see what he sees. Riding just behind Gilbert, and nothing he can really do here. He's trying to slow down, and just is going to get contact. You see the 18 of Baker with some heavy contact. Oh, and that's Cesar Chavez in the 24 with some hood contact as well. His hood's all bent out of shape, and that could be detrimental. And I believe Cesar Chavez is out of the race as a result of that contact. He is out of the race. Kyle Collins also has dropped out of the race. And as the field forms up again, 22 cars remain on track as we see the green flag. What a shame, though, for DW Motorsports and Cesar Chavez. Must have got contact coming in, was not able to slow down in time, and that will end his campaign to try to get to the Daytona 500. And that's such a shame. They had such a quick car in practice, too. But the duel goes on as we see Daniel Voiles out front And it's not a surprise to see him out front here leading at Daytona. Obviously, we saw him do that last week, or a couple weeks ago, I should say, and win the Bud Shootout. And sun or night, sky, it doesn't matter for the 98 car. He is fast any conditions of the track. Eric Monaco just behind him. That 16 car is one of the drivers who has to race his way in, doing everything he needs to do to guarantee that. And now 4 laps to go here. Voiles holding off the field behind. And there's not much of a run going here. There's the 02 car of Arsh Hussain coming up on the bottom. Hussain, one of the fastest cars all weekend long. And if he can get up and challenge the 98 car, I think he might have a real good shot at winning this race. And Voiles is going to get pushed out of the way, but it's not by the 02 car. Sam Rogers flying into the picture. And the Chevys, they qualified out front for the duels. Maybe having some unseen potential here in the closing stages of this race. They could have been lying in wait. There's outside pole sitter Jay Barker coming with Nicholas Sumudio, and those two will get a huge head of steam coming out of turn 4. Sumudio will take the lead, and I see Ryan Dunn, because so far the most laps led today is that 75 Ice Valley Dodge. Can he have a shot at winning this duel? The winner of this race will sit pole sitter spot in the Daytona 500. Who will it be? Sumudio down the backside of the track. There comes Jay Barker on the inside. I don't think he's got the drafting help though. Oh, he's gonna have enough though. He's getting to the inside. Jay Barker in the Federal Premium Chevrolet is going to the front. But does he have the help? Ryan Dunn's gonna stay with Sumudio. Sumudio has the ground. And out of the turn 4 and through the trial, Nicholas Sumudio will capture the victory and win the first duel in the Pennzoil Pro Series. Duels at Daytona. And Old Spice Racing has to be proud of that one, as Toyota wasn't really a contender coming into this race. Everyone was pointing to the Fords, but the Toyotas are going to come out on top here today. And there are your drivers not advancing. We mentioned Cesar Chavez and Chloe Baker also had damage. But Blaine Keys, a seasoned veteran, will also not be joining them in the Smart Motorsports Ford. And a disappointing outing for those 3 drivers, as they will not be debuting in the 2018 Daytona 500. Here is your starting lineup though for Duel 2 as the rest of the field makes their way out. Another 24 drivers, as Michael Jones will capture the Haas Pole Award, and Kyle Singer will be the outside pole sitter, as those two will lead the field to the green flag. A bunch more drivers, however, on the cusp of getting knocked out of the Daytona 500. We've seen 3 drivers, maybe some upsets in there. Which 3 will be present in that list once this is all over? Addison Steinbach will be carrying one of our onboards, the Garmin Fusion visor cam today. And the other driver carrying it on board is Colin Denton with the Chevrolet on board. And those 2 drivers will give us the action just like we did with Garrett Sonor in the last duel. And we will see how this race turns out. A crash, the big one, tremendously changed the outcome of the race. Will it happen in this duel? Green flag is in the air. Michael Jones sees the green, and he is off with 23 others trying to make the 500. Out of 2, Michael Jones still holds the lead, and behind him, that great push by Brian Lenning is not going to last long, as he's going to jump to the inside line. Ryan Kendall, Derek Petrie, Addison Steinbach coming along with, and the inside line proving to be the winning lane again. And the Netflix Chevrolet will take the point, and he'll try to lead the first lap of the race. Ryan Kendall, though, coming behind in the 17. Kendall is also a strong prospect, was one of the drivers to upset the Fords in practice, but as we've seen, it's not always indicative of how they'll perform in the race. And Kendall getting swallowed in the middle right now as the car's coming by on the inside. Steinbach in the 04 will join the 5 out front, and the number 27 of Ruby Easton as well, making a push for the front, going with the 04, maybe not, pulls back in line, and Steinbach will take a poke at the lead But out back, one of the drivers has already fallen off the field. That's the 57 of August Eberhard. And driving for Tanker Motorsports, it seems like the car has had a shifting issue and will not shift into fourth gear, and that is tremendously underpowered, especially when you're at a track like Daytona, and you can see how he has already lost the pack. And that is definitely a problem for the 57 car, but he will try to limp it home and see if another accident happens like we saw in the duels that takes out 3 of his competition. The 27 car of Ruby Easton saw a lot of improvement out of that 27 team in the last few years. Overdrive Motorsports was a backmarker team just 2 years ago, and they are out front here contending for the laps led once again. Ryan Dunn may prove to be this team's turnaround driver. But Ruby Easton also had some great finishes last season, really put the team on the map. Another team that had some tremendous finishes last year, unfortunately did not make the chase, was Smart Motorsports, as they're trying to make the name for themselves. The only 4-car Ford team in the field. However, it has not been a good start, as Blaine Keys has already been knocked out of the 500. Virgil Arvin Alonso could be another driver to fall in that 44 Krispy Kreme Ford. However, out front, looking good so far. Giovanni Barraza is no stranger to winning duels, as he won the Coveted Amateur Series duel just a few weeks ago, and the Gris Chevrolet is right now running in the top 5. He does have to make his way into the race because he hasn't participated in a Pennzoil Pro Series event in 3 years. He has been a Coveted Amateur Series regular ever since, and but still one of the veterans to the sport. And it's good to see him back in Barraza Incorporated equipment and running for the Pennzoil Pro Series title. 99 car Red Viper Racing's Eric Willis coming on the inside. Another one of the top prospects for this season. Was Will Willis rise to the occasion and maybe try to step it up and become the flagship team leader of Red Viper Racing, as they've had the speed, they've been in contention many years. It's just picking who is the best driver on Red Viper Racing is always a challenge, as there's so much talent there, but none of them have been able to stick out so far. And one of them wants to try and win the title for Red Viper Racing. Could it be Eric Willis this year? The 43 car going on the inside, he's no stranger to winning titles. Jay Durrell, your Season 2 champion, trying to get it done once again, become the first ever 2-time champion. However, as of late, it's been pretty tough for the Fitzwater Australia Racing team, and they have done some major renovations over at that team to try to fix that. But meanwhile, out front, lap 8, we have already seen the 57 car get caught, and this could be huge in the production of how this race will turn out. You see August Eberhard, just how off the pace he is. And you can't blame him for staying out there, but there's just nowhere for him to go, and he is going to block the entire outside lane. And at a track that is heavily impacted by the draft, that could play huge dividends into how this race shakes out, and if anyone does in fact lose the draft and end up not being able to stay within the top group of cars. As we already know, the 57 car will probably not be advancing if he does not at least have some drivers drop out in front of him. But Nia Devon in the 35 cars also lost the draft, so that might be 2 already that are not going to make it on the 500. But out front, some intensity going on. Colin Denton, one of the rookies this year, going to the front in that Big Motorsports equipment, one of the top prospect rookies coming into the season. A familiar paint scheme, and he's looking to bring it to good use at one of the best teams in the league. Looking at Zach Rain, one of the biggest upset drivers last year. Not so much for what he did in particular, just overall. It would seem like he would make a race, then not qualify for one, and then have a breakout race the next week. Very inconsistent, looking to try to turn that around though this week, but at least keep some of the great finishes, because he has surprised us in the past. He may not be at Old Spice Racing anymore, but TRN trying to build, maybe getting Zach Rain could help the team grow and build around him. But having both cars make the Daytona 500 could be a start for them. And it's looking pretty good right now so far, as on board the 04 car, visor cam for Addison Steinbach. But 2 is inside. Here comes Brian Boone. Talk about a brilliant last 2 years. What a turnaround the last 2 years have been for Boone. Going from winless to 5 wins and being championship contender worthy. Absolutely in the hunt for best driver of 2018 here this year, and could be in the hunt for a Daytona duel victory as well if he stays out front like this. The 45 car, a lot of off-season changes that this team used to be called Global Autosports now has been bought out by the sponsor itself. Futches Autosports will now host the two drivers, Nia Deverett and John Cittadino. Deverett looks like will not make the 500 as she has fallen way off the pack, but Cittadino is still holding on strong, and that's great for a team that we were concerned if they would even make it to Daytona, but they have shown up, and they're looking strong now with the 45 car. But as we have noticed, it has happened again. The 57 car can't be helped, but he is so slow as they have caught him on lap 16 for the second time. And Denton, as we ride on board with him, will be able to work his way around, and look at the gap Purcell's has put over the rest of the field. And he'll slot in fifth, so he doesn't have to worry. He's already in on owner's points, as all four big motorsports drivers are in the Daytona 500. But as for finishing well and getting a good qualifying spot, he's running top 5 right now. And as we've seen, the 57 car has created some separation back in the pack. And as we look at some of the drivers hanging off the tail end, this is the third car out of the game right now, the 23 of William Brock, and that's for Oliver Galloway Motorsports. They're trying to make their first career starts, startup organization, and they have looked very strong in practice, but unfortunately that the spread out of the field has taken a toll on him, and he's going to have to catch this guy right here, the 45 of John Cittadino. There's also some Smart Motorsports cars, I believe, in the pack that may be in trouble as well. But right now the 23 car is on the cusp of getting eliminated. He's going to have to pass someone in the next 6 laps as Brian Boone makes his case as the leader of the race, and he's going to take over the top spot from Purcell's. And finally Purcell's is dethroned, but here comes Stuart Gratton. It's been 4 years since we've seen the 59 car out in the track in a Pennzoil Pro Series race, but that has changed here today as Fitzwater Australia Racing making the move to 2 teams for the first time since season 1, and it's good to see the 59 car out on the track, hoping that having 2 teams being able to share notes will be a turnaround to what has been a decline in performance for the team, and far looking to get going again here in 2018 and try to have an uptick in performance. And here's the 57 car, again going to be a problem. Going to hold up Chase Marks on the inside in the 8 car, and was going to complement his good run, but he is going to get held up massively. And now we see a 3-car breakaway with just a couple laps remaining. And Brian Boone will come across the line to make it 3 to go. And behind you see Marks and Barraza being able to clear the pack. And these guys look like they're going to get a great finishing result here in this duel, as both had to race their way. And look at Michael Jones with a head of steam. Oh, and that could have been trouble there, as a couple cars, the 52, I believe, needs to race her way, and that's Allison Rhodes. There's Cittadino in the 45. Where's William Brock? I don't believe he is in sight. I think he is out of the question. They might all be safe at this point in the race. And there goes the second pack. There goes the third pack. The 57 cars really played chaos on this second duel here in an exciting way, as we see the 35 car lost the draft very early in the race, and Nia Deverett will not be advancing. Neither will the 57 of August Eberhard. But we still have an outside pole sitter to crown for the Daytona 500. Stuart Gratton out front. He's actually had success at Daytona in the past. I believe he finished runner-up in 2016. Looking to try to be one better than that this year. And the white flag is waving. Julio Cesar in the 14 car just behind, with Brian Boone in the 70 car. They're looking to overtake him out front, but will Stuart Gratton be able to hold him off? 2 Dodges and a Ford. Brian Boone coming with some steam. Will he make the move here? He's going to make it, but it might be a little early. He's going to have to wait to see where Julio Cesar helps him out. And Boone is going to have the inside line, and I think Julio's going to go to the bottom. And Stuart Gratton, that's not what he wanted to see, but Brian Boone is laughing in his cockpit as he has taken the lead on the last corner of the race. Stuart Gratton trying to fight back on the outside, but it's not going to happen. And Brian Boone for Bad Dad Racing will win the second duel, and he will take the checkered flag home, and he will have the outside pole sitting spot for the Daytona 500. And talk about an exciting run to the finish. Definitely a wild one, no accidents, but I'd argue almost more exciting than the last duel, as Brian Boone was able to outlast all the other drivers and weave his way around traffic. There are your 3 drivers not advancing. Once again, Nia Deverett, August Eberhard, and William Brock was unable to find himself enough spots in order to get himself in contention. But those 6 drivers, unfortunately, no matter what happened in the race, they will not be able to participate in the 2018 Daytona 500. Here are your finishing results. The first Mapei Duels saw Nicholas Samudio win with Jay Barker. How about this? Starting and finishing in second place. Second best. Not good enough though, but he'll still take his third place starting position. Ryan Dunn and Daniel Boyle sharing most laps read that race, finishing third and sixth respectively. And there's Cesar Chavez out of the race. Kyle Collins out with an engine issue, but that's no matter for him because he will make his way into the 500 based on owner points. Brian Boone will win the second Mapei duel. Julio Caesar and Stuart Gratton, the only other 2 in contention, will finish second and third, with Ruby Easton finishing fourth. And a bunch of drivers moving up through the pack, all making big gains here today. August Eberhard, Nia Deverett, and William Brock. Those low finishes will not help them advance, and they will be going home today. But that wraps things up here for the duels. The only thing left to do is run the big daddy of races, the Daytona 500. And that will be coming up within the next week. This is the ASCA League. We'll see you then for more excitement.